bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever in the world that you may be. This is another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show with me, Lillian Ogbogo. Now, we are in for a real treat tonight because we have the very talented, very creative, and God knows I know how she does it all, Akua Gyamfi. Gyamfi. So I'm going to have to make sure I get this right. So this is a woman who is... I think to define her properly, you will have to know her properly. She's been a stylist, she's been a journalist, she is a commentator, she's a creator and founder of the British Blacklist, which has been dubbed the Black IMDB. She is a very, very amazing woman, and I get to interview her tonight, so I'm really excited. Hi, Akua.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Thank you for being on the show.
No problem. Thanks for having me. It's nice.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Now, I've just introduced you as a stylist, script consultant, creator, founder. My question is, where do you find the time to be everything?
Well, I don't do hairdressing so much anymore. The person that gets my most attention when it comes to hair is my daughter, so she benefits from my skills. But outside of that, I maybe have one or two clients left that just won't leave me alone. So I'm not as busy as I used to be because I don't. I say that now, and I just realised I not long ago did a shoot for a magazine a while ago. So I don't do as much hair as I used to. So that doesn't take my time. Most of what takes my time is the British Blacklist. Script consulting has been on pause as well because, again, it's a service I did when I was in my 9 to 5 working at the BBC, so I could do that on the side. But with the British Blacklist, I really have no time to do anything but that at the moment. So I find the time, kind of.
Well, even just the British Blacklist, I think, is enough of a baby to take up anyone's time. And you seem to be doing it quite well. So what drove you to create the British Blacklist? Let's get that out the way, because I'm curious.
It was just a need at the time. I mean, it's funny, like, speaking about it now, it seems so much has changed this is our 6th year. When I launched in 2012, it was just because around sometime in 2011, I just felt like I couldn't go online and see anything to do with British black talent. I mean, it was an evolution of an idea, but the final point was, okay, what platform or where can we celebrate what the British black people in the arts are doing? And I was working in media at the time, and I just felt like there's nothing there. And I think it was on the verge and like about to explode, this Black Renaissance that we're having, British Black Renaissance that we're having in the arts. So I could feel it. So something just said, look, let's get this thing underway. And I kind of, as a fan, I like looking at IMDB. And when I was a freelance journalist, I'd use certain sites to research celebrities. So that's just literally the inspiration. It was just something like create a platform that celebrates British black talent and document the work that we're doing so that there's an archive and a reference point to go back to, so that when we're all dead and gone, someone can go, okay, this is what this person did, this is what that person did, this is what the British were doing, British black people specifically were doing, and making their contribution to the arts world.
No, I mean, that is actually for me, I think that was a very timely thing to do then, 6 years ago, but it was also a very important thing because you said it's about documenting and say, this is our contribution, this is what we've done, and I think you should be congratulated for that.
Thank you. I mean, I think we've won one or two awards, and even though it's been a hard, long journey, it is so nice to be out and about and have people say thank you and love what you're doing and appreciating the work, because it is really, really hard, and it can sometimes be quite frustrating and upsetting and emotionally draining, just trying to get stuff off the ground and survive on it. So it's really great when we're out there seeing our work being recognised and just especially the talent and people, even just in this like regular audience, people who just want to know what's going on. The appreciation is really nice.
You know what? I think you are appreciated quite a lot for the work that you do. And you've just touched on something. You touched on the frustration, the challenges. And so our segue question into that is, what has been your greatest challenge since creating the Blacklist?
I think awareness, understanding, trust of it, and the industry has its gates and locks and bolts and stuff in place. And you have to really fight to be heard. And it's not literally like, I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's just, sometimes it's access to places. Sometimes it's just simply, can we get to this screening? And they're saying, no, what's your numbers? And if you can't compete with the mainstream, which is what my whole point was, the mainstream will ignore British black actors at that point. And then maybe now if they're in blockbuster or Oscar-winning films or money-making films, then they'll get the recognition. But then if not, then they're ignored. So this is the problem. So that then when I'm like, all we need is the British black talent, we don't need anything else, they still put you through the hoops and compare you to the mainstreams and want you to have that level of number before they even take notice of you. So there's a bit of industry politics that you have to dodge around. And sometimes when you put in so much work and you've pushed and pushed, that can be frustrating. Sometimes even British black talent themselves it's a question of either forgetting or maybe being too scared to speak up or not giving a damn about where, what everyone else is doing. So it's a bit, I guess, for British black talent, it's going to be just as difficult to know who to speak to and how to protect their brand. And obviously coming from grassroots, sometimes there are people out there that we might have grown up with, gone to school with. You can easily touch them. We'll see them in, the market on the weekend shopping with their parents, same way. But then they have this other life where they're celebrities. So sometimes I think there's a battle between them saying that, okay, I'll give you an interview, I'll give you an access, or I'll remember to tell my PR people to let you guys through. And other times they think, well, no, we can't do that because our PR said we have to protect our brand. We have to only speak to the mainstreams and not be oversaturated. And the industry doesn't respect black publications unless, like I said, they're doing massive numbers or they've got the cool factor. So sometimes getting access to talent through the talent themselves can be a bit frustrating. And then there's, managing a team and not necessarily having the finances to pay people, but trying to encourage people, like, believe in the dream. If we all work together, we'll get to the promised land and get paid. It's very hard to motivate people when you're like, okay, next year we'll get paid. Next year we'll get paid. So there's all those type of things, because sometimes you start a blog and you just start a blog and then you become a empire in a way, and then you have people that report to you, and then you have people that you manage, and it turns into this industry that, I've worked at the BBC and have there's HR department, there's tech support, there's, the complaints bureau. I don't have that. I have me. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So it's hard. But I could go on.
Well, so, and that's the truth. It is hard, but you seem to be straddling that fine line. And you do not do this alone, which is actually quite amazing. So you have a team. How did you grow from it just being you to a team?
I think it's funny. In our 6th year, my team has gone right back down to bare minimum. We had at one point at the height, I had a team about 13 writers, and an assistant. And it was really, what worked was people saw the work, believed in it, and said, look, I'd love to contribute. We did put a call out for writers. And that, to be honest, in the first time we did that, we didn't really get much response. But what really worked for people was people seeing what we did, liked what we did, got in touch, said, hey, I fancy writing, be interested in doing that. And then we have a discussion, and then they went for it. And I had people that stuck with me, and we grew and evolved. But it was really fun. It was great having, being able to have a team of writers that are out there doing stuff, and we were just really dominating and giving great articles, great reviews, and great interviews. It was really fun. But the reality, like I said, is all about finances, and people. Something that I learned along the way is that you have to have people that see this as a career rather than a hobby, because what I ran into is either if I couldn't pay people, that was an issue. Also, people have their own hopes and dreams, and if they've got other dreams, and their commitment starts to fall off the minute they get to the level of where they're ready to do their dream. So selfishly, I'm like, stop having dreams, just listen to my dream. But obviously, you can't control people and what they want, and everyone has their epiphany at different stages in their life. So if they don't really want to be journalists, or they don't really want to be part of a media platform, you have to let them go and move on gracefully. So we had a really great run of it. So I'm back down to maybe about 3 writers, and I'm going to be looking for more writers and building up the team again. But I'm with a bit more hindsight, or foresight, I should say, to know that what type of writers I need and who would be the best people to target.
Okay. Well, we wish you luck with that over here. So we are talking about lights, camera, and diversity. I mean, 2018, we're still in that space of let's talk about getting more diverse characters. Let's talk about getting more women. Let's talk about more diverse directors, producers. And we are at the very moment, waiting on the release of the rather exciting Black Panther movie. I don't know if you're going to go to the premiere and all the Black Panther parties. Let me ask you a question, and this is our question, is do you feel that it's important that we have more Black and diverse superheroes, and why?
Oh, I mean, I'm the wrong person to ask if you want anything but yes. I mean, that's my whole thing. I'm a Black woman, I'm a dark-skinned Black woman, I'm an African Black woman. I've got all the things and all the isms and all the issues that have been levied against Black women and Black people in my chest and my heart is what carries me doing the British Blacklist on a daily basis. It's important. Superheroes are important. I mean, anything that's trending, we should have a Black version of. So whether it's anything on screen, on stage, in music, whatever's trending, we should have a Black version of so that we can relate. We should always have something that we can relate to that's going on in the arts. It's important. Representation, identity, connection, representation, all that type of stuff. It's needed. It's needed. So Black Panther is going to be monumental. Like, for me, the importance for me is seeing a Black woman like Lupita Nyong'o on screen with short natural hair, her very dark skin, and her, not very straight nose, thick lips, and that type of African beauty represented on screen as a love interest. Because that's my bee in the bonnet. We don't get that. If we're going to get Black women on screen, then they're going to be fairer skinned, maybe have straighter European features, and that's it. And then they get to be the love interest, they get to be the queen, they get to be the princess, and they get the beautiful man. And the fact that she's cast opposite Chadwick Boseman as a dark-skinned Black man himself, I don't even think that hasn't been on screen on the big screen for a very long time. Like, maybe if it's the 70s and blaxploitation films, we don't get that representation, even with films made by us and TV shows made by us. We are, it's like we're scared, we've been brainwashed and all that type of stuff. And we bought into the whole thing that, 2 dark-skinned people on screen is too much, too heavy, too black. So Black Panther is so important on so many levels. But and around it, we've got so many other Black series. We've got Insecure, we've got Atlanta, we've got Black Lightning, the new superhero series that's just started.
Looking forward to that.
It's coming to Netflix on the 23rd. That's next Tuesday. There's so many things. I mean, England's got to play catch up. The UK is still confused. But even over here, we've got people like Brothers with No Game who have cast for a very long time unapologetically with a range of dark-skinned women and all shades. And by the way, when I say dark-skinned women getting prominence, I'm not saying exclude light-skinned women. I'm just saying give it a free space. Be fair. Have fair representation of all the shades. Don't just levy us like dark-skins, ugly, and downtrodden, light-skinned, pretty princesses. Just balance it up.
Well, you know what? You've actually touched on something here. Okay. You're saying but there's a confusion that when you say, let's talk about race, let's talk about Black women or darker skinned women, that we are excluding one or the other. We're saying, let's be represented as a whole. I mean, we are a whole spectrum. And so it's not that, let's just have one version and to hell with everybody else. That's not what we're saying.
No. And I've never been like that. Like, if I was to cast something, it's just mix it up because we have so many shows that are Black that that the girlfriend's going to be light skinned, and that the boy is, it's always that narrative that the boy is going to like the light-skinned girl or want the light-skinned girl, and she might have a dark-skinned best friend down the line. I mean, it was really important, I think, when Bolo Agbaje and Desti Akaraga, they did Gone Too Far. I can't remember the year now, which is really bad of me. And they put that kind of narrative on screen. They turned it around where Adeleo was the lead girl opposite Malachi Kirby, and Shanika Warren Markland, who would be the typical pretty light-skinned girl who gets the guy. She was not the likable character. And I remember speaking to Bolo, and she's like, it's important because I grew up always having to be the ugly one or the single mother or the downtrodden one or the best friend that didn't get anything or was laughed at. So it's really important that we change the narrative, but without excluding our sisters, because that's not what it's about. It's not about saying, okay, you want just dark-skinned women, because, my whole family's mixed of different shades of black. Mm-hmm. But let's have it, not every dark-skinned woman is sitting there single, ugly, waiting for,
to
just
be rescued.
Yeah. There's so many, I know so many beautiful dark-skinned women who are in great relationships, married even, and all that type of stuff. So let's see that. And for us being black and not doing it is a problem. And I think we are the perpetrators of it more than ever. And I get it, because there's that whole, I know people who've got content and they want to cast blacks, and they've been told by the gatekeepers that, no, it's too black, can you lighten it up a bit, maybe put a white girl in it, and all that type of stuff. Mm-hmm. So we face those challenges when it comes to getting our narratives on screen. But and again, like I said, the UK is so much slower, but with things like Insecure and Black Panther and changing up the narrative, maybe soon the UK will catch up, will play catch up.
I actually hope so. I have my fingers crossed. And while we're talking about the UK, one of your things is talking about having more women in the director's chair. One is having more women behind the camera. And really, it's just to understand, why is this important to our narrative to have more black women sitting in that director's chair?
I think it's because we are more empathetic to what's really going on. I think men, not to dismiss men, because like I said, I will not. There are some guys out there making some beautifully sensitive content, and it's very representative. And not to denigrate all men, all black men making content, but there's something about black women that we see it differently. We can see it more fair. I don't even think if you see a black musician's music video, a black female musician's music video, it's not full of shadism. They'll have a dark skinned man one video, they'll have a light skinned man another video, and then all that. They don't do that. But with a black musician, his video is more than likely going to be one way, one narrative. So I think black women are more empathetic to reality. I don't know, but it's just generally important just to see another story, because the director has been dominated by men and their vision, and women's stories need to be told. We see everything through the lens of a black man predominantly. So, yeah, our voices need to be heard. And it's important that we get to say what we need to say. Representation is important.
So it's really about the representation, and we need to tell our stories and change the narratives, because I don't watch soaps, but I'm tired of whenever there's a black woman in a soap, she's broke, single mother, and unhappy.
Yeah, I don't watch. Actually, I can say that I don't watch UK shows because I don't find any. There's not one show on TV that I relate to on UK TV that I can relate to. They might have one or two. They did Undercover with Sophie Okonedo and Adrian Lester. That was brilliant, and that was, I think, last year or the year before on BBC, and that was a big deal because the first time they had a black family leading a BBC show in that type of way, a primetime show. So that was great in itself. But yeah, I don't watch UK TV because I don't think it represents anything that I'm about. Unfortunately, the main 5 channels, nothing is there for me. And if they do try and do something, they get it wrong. Actually, let me shout out Michaela Cole and Chewing Gum. That was a brilliant effort. But again, I don't know if there was any consideration to her love interest and all of that stuff, because I wonder what would have happened if she had pitched and said, look, let the boyfriend the guy that she's in love with be a black guy. I don't know, because I think there's something about the UK that feels that they have to diversify everything, even though their content can be as white as they come, to maybe put 1 or 2 black people there. But whenever we have our content, when it gets to the mainstream, it has to be
diversified up,
and it has to be in a sense where there's not too much blackness on screen. So yeah, I don't know. I don't.
I mean, you almost want to go, if you have two black people on screen and who are successful and have a love interest, the world will not explode. You're almost tempted to just put that out there. The world won't explode. BBC, it won't end.
Exactly. And I think there's always a thing about, especially again with the UK, we're not much of the percentage, even though it seems like, you go to certain areas and you think there's blacks everywhere. We don't make up much of the UK in comparison. I think it's 3% or whatever they say. So I understand about ratings, but the thing is, what I find is great marketing helps and great content helps, because people, like, for example, went to see Girls Trip in Abundance.
Yes.
And very black film. It's I think there's one white guy in it or what? It's a very, very black film, but yet it did exceedingly well. So it's a bit of a lazy rhetoric to say, people might not watch it in Middle England. If it's good, they'll watch it. If it's marketed well, they'll watch it. People watched The Cosby Show back in the day. People watched back in the day. People watched Fresh Prince back in the day. And that was I remember showing my age, getting on the bus and talking to Fresh Prince. It was with every race. Everyone loved the Fresh Prince. Everyone talked about Cosby Show. Everyone talked about Desmond. So this is mad that in 2018 we don't have one black show in the UK on TV. There was a time when we had so many.
And that's a problem. And when you look at shows that have happened in the States, and we're at a point now, we're still having to have this discussion now, 2018, we're still having to do this. I find it annoying, because it's something that we want to go. At what point do we stop having to say this is what happens that we want to see? And I think at some point we need to also start saying we may not make up a large number, but we need to start supporting. And the reason why I say we, and I'm using that very loosely, I've been to shows that have been outside of what we'll normally tag as a black event, and you look around and it's almost like, let's spot the black people in the room. Now, the Black Ballet toured the UK. I went to see them last year. I think I could count how many black people were in the auditorium, and I could do it on my two hands.
Yeah, so this is a thing, because there's levels to this. First of all, in the very basic instance, it's disposable income, and we can argue that black people will spend on designer wear, blah 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 blah. Mm-hmm. But then when it comes to the arts and stuff, they're not interested. So there's an assumption. There's so many layers to this. There's an assumption when you're in the arts that everybody loves the arts, and actually, the average Joe, whether you're white, black, Asian, whatever, not everyone likes the arts. So then there's there has to be a real understanding that not everybody likes going to the theatre. Not everybody wants to go to the theatre, and the extent of what they see as a night out could be going to a bar, a party, maybe to the cinema. So that's right. One thing. Yeah. So we can't expect that just because we like the theatre and ballet and all that type of stuff, anybody else does. And again, I bring it back to the average working class white person, it will do the same thing. They're not going to go to the National Theatre and see something. They're going to go to the cinema at best, or down to the pub. I'm being very stereotypical, trying to give it some comparison. So there's that. We have to manage our expectations on that. Secondly, outreach. The PRs do well. For us, they try. We get a lot of emails into our inbox. Hey, this is going on. Can you talk about it? Share it out there. Can we interview the people to drum up an audience, drum up support? So we do that, and it's about working with PRs. Sometimes PRs are great, really, really get in touch. Other times they forget, or they don't care, or they don't bother, and they just appeal to the Guardian readers and the Mail readers or whatever, and don't think to seek out black publications to say, hey, let's put this in your publication. There's another thing about them paying. Some people, they don't want to pay. They just expect you to put it out free. So there's something about that relationship that has to be worked on and get better. And then there are the people that don't want to support. I don't think it's just a black thing that they don't support, because I've been to events and it's been blacked out. It is generally, theatre is considered a a white pastime. I don't know. I mean, we like the theatre. We're on stage. We write. There's so many black playwrights.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stuck to really understand why when things are on, people don't go. But it's a matter of understanding, knowing what's going on, following, signing up to newsletters and being regularly engaged with stuff. So I don't know. It's a combination of a lot of things, but I think the main thing is that people do. I have been out and been impressed and seen, okay, black people are out in this thing. And I think that we also have to manage our expectations because it's not always, and tickets can be expensive. People do try and do as much discounts as possible, but I think people also assume that things like the theatre are quite expensive and ballet is expensive.
I think there's also, like you said, the assumption, because sometimes it's not that way. And I think it's the assumption, oh, it's going to be expensive, so I'm not going to even bother.
And also, going to the theatre has a class attached to it as well. Like, if I wasn't doing the British Blacklist, I don't know how many times I would have been to the theatre. I know there's a lot of shows I've seen because I'm a journalist I would never have gone to see. I don't know if I can't look back at my life in a sliding doors kind of way and see if I didn't do the British Blacklist and I didn't work in media. Maybe if I stayed doing hairdressing. But even when I did hairdressing, I ended up in the arts and entertainment world. But I don't know if I would have gone to the theatre the way that I have access to the theatre because I'm a journalist.
Right.
So there's things like that. There's class, there's age, it's so many things that come to it. And then unfortunately, all black creators see is that, black people don't support. And I don't believe it's true. And I think also sometimes people don't, if you're not used to going to the theatre, you might have an assumption about what you're even going to see. I've come out of the theatre crying, laughing, moved, inspired, broken, so, and I don't think I would have necessarily expected that. So some people don't even know what to expect when they go to the theatre. They just think it's people on stage going forthwith and doing Shakespeare. They don't understand levels you can get from going to the theatre. So there's a lot, but there's a lot. It's more than one issue.
No, I agree. And we're gonna shift slightly back to you because when we started in the beginning, we say you juggle quite a lot and you do a lot of different things. And one of the questions I want to ask is, how do you manage to juggle all your businesses alongside parenting?
Has it been hard? Yes, it has. I suppose it has. I think now I'm on the other side because my daughter's approaching 18 and now she's fully not fully, she's independent enough so that now I can slowly, I can do more things and stay out a bit later and not feel like, okay, I've got to worry where she is. Even though I still send her to my mum's if I feel like I'm going to be very late, and I still, for some reason, even though she's nearly 18, I don't like the idea of her staying in the house by herself. I'm still a bit like that, even though she's done it once or twice over the years when it's been unavoidable. But what I have been blessed with since I had her through this whole launching of the British Blacklist, even being a hairdresser that, was on shoots till all hours of the night and God knows when, I had a great support system I was always blessed with great childcare. So that made it easier. But where it became difficult, the long hours became difficult. And I remember actually having a 9 to 5 actually was more of an issue. I worked at one point in a department in the BBC for someone that was very strict with their timing. And I got out of work dead on 6, had to then travel to pick my child up from the childminder, bring her home, and then I was doing hair at that time as well. So sometimes I'd have 3 or 4 clients in the evening. So there was there would be no give. And sometimes my child would be like, I'd be upset with her for being basically a child and not conforming to my rule where I'm actually messing up the system. So it gets to a point where I had to take a part-time job so that I could be at the school gates and pick my child up. And I did that for quite a few years until we got into a balance where, okay, I could start to stay a bit later. But I think from very many years, I worked from like 9 till 4 after I had the part-time hours. So I just made sure that we got home together, we sat down, had dinner and all that type of stuff. So it's difficult when you're an ambitious woman who has a child. I hate to add the tag, no, I don't hate to add the tag, but I am a single mother, so I don't want that to define me. I think that's what irritates when people use that to define someone. So that's an extra added pressure because I don't have someone to share the load with. So, and as a mother, I think when you get pregnant, you have the worry of carrying to term, nothing goes wrong. You have the worry that your child's then going to be born with all their faculties intact and there's no issue or disability. Then when the child is born, you want to get through the scary time of hopefully they survive their infanthood. Then you get to school, there's so many things that you are not told. There's no book that prepares you for all the levels of worry and anxiety that you go through as a parent. And on top of that, when you're a parent with ambition. So those are the kind of things that emotionally it's been hard, I think, because I'm trying to shape a well-rounded, non-bitter, dark-skinned young girl in a world that has quite often said that girls like her don't matter or aren't important. Mm-hmm. So all those type of things. And so I find ways. I've had great support. I have always tried to make sure she knows what's going on. She's been my handbag many times. When I'm doing stuff, she'll come on shoots with me. She'll come to screenings with me. She might come to review. I've had her with me, so she knows what mummy does. She's clued up to what goes on, and I'm just very honest with her. And we have a really beautiful relationship, actually.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, it's good. It is good.
And I'm looking at your pictures, and I remember, we just got off Skype video, and woman, you don't look old enough to have an almost 18-year-old.
I know. Mummy's genes, my mum and dad's genes are great. So every time I say it, people are like, come on now. Don't be
silly.
Exactly.
I was like, when you said 18, my mouth hit my desk. I'm thinking, this woman's lying.
No, I'm old enough to have a child. I should say I'm old enough to have had a child, and I didn't have her at 16. So I had her when I was 23. So yeah, I was not quite mature enough, but mature enough for it not to be like, oh my god. But even saying that, I know a few women who had kids at 16 and have grown up, raised wonderful children, have been great women themselves, and all that type of stuff. So I think it's all relative to the person that you are. And when I got pregnant, it was a shock, and it was like, okay. And then I always say she was the catalyst to my evolution, because I became such a different person after I had her. When you've got something and someone that's dependent on you, it changed the outlook on life, and it just made me more determined to show this girl a life that she wouldn't have to want for anything. So, but yeah, I am old.
You're not old. You're fantastic. I'm sorry. I'm still looking at your picture going, wow, almost 18. Okay. We're not exposing the ages here, but we'll keep it moving. I'm still going to come back to those pictures. When you've, looking at your life, you switched your path a couple of times and done a few different things. What would you tell a woman who is still searching for her main passion? Because the reason why I'm asking this question, there's an article that was out this week talking about, especially for Black women, there seems to be no room for us to kind of discover ourselves. And there's this idea we must have everything mapped out and completed in our early 20s. And so if we end up feeling like we haven't accomplished enough in our 30s or 40s and feel like life is over. So what would you tell a woman who's still searching for her main passion, regardless of her age?
I feel like if you're still searching but you've overlooked it and you're chasing a fantasy passion, whereas actually if you pared back and kept still and just looked within, you probably realize what your passion is. And that might sound very easy to say, and I'm sorry to anyone that feels like, oh, shut up, that's not how it goes. But I always have long stories, so I always try and keep my stories short. But I'll try. I left school not knowing what I wanted to do, and I was clever at school, but I just didn't know what I wanted to do. And I think childhood issues made me a problematic child at school. But the only thing I couldn't fail in was English and art. If I tried, I didn't skip school or anything like that, but I was just useless. I was rude, I was cheeky, I had a bit of an attitude, but I just could not fail English. So that's the only thing I had that I was good at. But then I went into Went to college, just followed my friends. I did literally followed my friends, ended up doing random courses, got kicked out of college. And then when I got kicked out of college, my mum sent me to work with my auntie who had a hairdresser, and that's who trained me in the basics of hairdressing.
Right.
Went back to college, did another random course just because my friends were doing it, left that, and because I didn't know what I wanted to do, because that wasn't what I wanted to do, I did hairdressing, and I worked in hairdressers for many years until I got pregnant. And it's when I got pregnant I realised that I was on the burgeoning of being I was on the cusp of being international hairstylist. I was going to assist someone because he asked me to help him on a fashion show.
Right.
And I said, sure. And he saw my talent and said, you're brilliant. I want you to be my assistant. And he did all the fashion stuff. And I was like, great, I'm going to do that. Then I got pregnant. I was like, well, I can't do that now. So I thought, what can I do that can keep me on the ground and then get me, being able to look after my child?
Mm-hmm.
When I had to go to college, did a multimedia course. Then part of the course requirement was to take journalism. So I said, okay, cool, I'm good at English, let me do journalism. Got my degree in journalism. Then got my first job at a TV station. Then got the next job at BBC. And then had the idea for the British Blacklist with a lot of life stuff in between. And then it's gone full circle because that English course that I could never fail in school now has become my, beacon of light, because that's the one thing that's kept me through all the time, my English, an ability to write that's where I've turned my skill into my passion, because I always liked watching TV and awards, and I always had an interest in black people and the progression of blacks and black celebrities. It's all culminated. I'm trying to say it, Sean, it's still taking long, but if I went through every intricate step of my life, you would see that there's nowhere else I could be but doing what I'm doing. Yeah. So awesome. For someone who I think you have to, because I think people think that, I've got to love what I do. I like what I do. Sometimes it's a burden and it's stress. And I didn't wake up and say, I'm going to be this. I just fell onto it, and I just had an emotion. I thought, okay, let me do this. And I just tried it. So I think sometimes people search too hard. Like, when you're searching for love and you want the one, but sometimes the one is just in a bit of an odd shape and right in front of your eyes, but you can't see it. So yeah, I think stop stressing about what you haven't got and look at what you have done and look at what you like. Sometimes it's just like literally doing what you like. And I said to myself, I'm never going to be in a position where I look back and say, I didn't do what I like. So I say yes to a lot of things and just did what I liked. Mm. Yeah, so I think that's it. I could go on forever about this.
So basically your key message is find what you like, do what you like, do something that speaks to the core of you. And actually, stop searching and look within. There are things that you've done that could be your main passion, and you just need to stop searching.
Yeah, because I think I remember when I found out I was pregnant, apart from being scared, joyful, confused, I was also like, oh shoot, I'm now not going to be able to do this hairdressing thing, which I thought I was good. Hairdressing is my thing. I think my God-given talent. I can do hair. I can get the hell out of hair. And at that age, I had the energy. Brilliant. And then this thing happened. Life happened. So I was taken off course. But then how many years later, when I thought I'd never do hair again, I ended up, doing Fashion Week again. And I worked with a team up until maybe just a couple of years ago. Because I got too busy, I had to keep saying no with the British Blacklist. I was working on a team with a guy called Paul Hannon on London Fashion Week. And every year we did London Fashion Week shows. And one time I reflected, I was like, wow, I thought I'd never do this again. And it just came back naturally, because I think whether you believe in God or the universe or whatever, or spirituality, you are never too far away from what you're supposed to do. I think that's the truth. I think if you start saying, okay, what is it I'm good at? And you start doing it, even if you don't necessarily like it, you'll start to find other things in that world that relate to what you can do. And then you find a way of turning that can do into something that you really want to do.
I like that. I really do. And I think that's actually quite important, regardless of your spirituality, whatever it is we believe in out there. There's something that is greater than us. Then remind ourselves that we need to stand still, listen to those answers, and find out there are things that we always do. And I think the problem with passion is that, especially when you look outwards, people are doing these great and wonderful things, and then you think, well, that thing that I do that doesn't cost me anything or doesn't task me at all, we kind of denigrate it and say, well, it's not worth anything, and that could be our passion.
Yeah. exactly. And that's exactly it, because I think people think that you're supposed to have this great big whoosh and excitement every day and you're just spinning in pink and everything. It's not that. It's just like my passion. I'm doing my passion, but it's hard work and it's not always joyful. I'm good at English. That's why I'm doing this. That's basically it.
Awesome. Now, if you were just joining us, where have you been for the last 40 minutes and 22 seconds? You have missed an incredible show with myself and the ever fantastic Akua Gyamfi. Now, we've been talking about diversity. We've been talking about, having women behind the lens. We've been talking about so much. And now we're going into talking about our So Loud moment of the week. So, Akua, what is your So Loud moment of the week?
This is hard. I had some and then I changed my mind, but then I've gone back to it. My So Loud moment of the week is, now I want to think a bit more. I'm going to say random things. I'm going to start with my daughter because she's awesome and she's rocking her afro at a time when young teenage girls are being, are covered in weave and layers of makeup, and she's managed to kind of hold her own, wear her afro strong and proud. So that's my very big shout out loud moment.
Okay.
Also to Leon Main and the Brothers with No Game team. I love what they're doing. They've got their season 3 of Brothers with No Game, the web series, on Trace TV. It's a very massive feat that they've managed to pull off. And these are the guys I was referring to who cast nicely. They cast black women of all shades opposite black men of all shades, and it's a great series about 4 guys, they're not related, who just unlucky in love, but they're just navigating their life and relationships with wonderful looking women and wonderful looking men. And it's a great series. I really respect what they're doing. It's been a hard, long slog for them, and things are kind of really coming together for them. And the fact that they're on Trace TV is amazing. So you should check it out. So that's another shout out for them. Shout out loud moment for them. And finally, all the black exhibitioners who are doing their real God's work to get us to see black films and make a difference at the box office so that they start to pay attention to our black pounds. People like Caramel Films, We Are Parable, and the New Black Film Collective, they just do such wonderful work. And what these guys do in different ways is a film will come out, especially of black interest, and they'll get people together, get a venue, and give us a great cinema experience. And they've been doing their work, man, and it's really, really good. It's really galvanized audiences to kind of pay attention to that box office weekend, that all-important weekend, where when a black film comes out, you've got to see it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because those are when they count the numbers. And these film groups have really set the pace and changed the way that we get together and see these films. Because I remember a time when films would only come out in America, and we'd be sitting there waiting for the DVD man to come and, get a cheap. We had no way of seeing stuff, and now they're actually paying attention. These groups really help us. So, shouting out We Are Parable, Caramel Films, and the New Black Film Collective. That's my shout out moment.
Okay, so we got a third far. So we got 3 in 1, and I think let's start with this. Let's celebrate your daughter for rocking her afro with a big round of applause for that.
Yay! Rika?
And we should also celebrate all the other shout out moments from We Are Parables, the guys who are bringing the black films to the UK, to making sure that we're seeing them and that they're paying attention to the black pound, and also to the Brothers with No Game. I think another round of applause is due. Okay, so you know what? I have a question, and this is just my bugbear. I have this question: where do you stand on the Black Girl Magic phenomenon that came out last year and the year before that was everywhere?
I understand why it came out. I understand it was like a protection. It was like a protective shield after all the backlash that we were getting and being beat down all the time. So it was kind of like our Black Girl Magic and empowering tool. But it started to get on my nerves because I felt like it was kind of contradicting the whole issue, which is that black women aren't these super women that could do everything and are expected to carry the weight of everybody's pain, not just black men. The world's pain sits on our mammy-like shoulders as they would have it. So then when we're saying black girl magic, it's like, well, we're actually contradicting the fact that we are human. Black girl magic then becomes, well, we are superwomen. We're actually reinforcing the fact that we can do anything. We have magic, and we do get things done by magic. So I kind of didn't like it. I preferred black excellence as a hashtag to get behind, because that was more all-encompassing, and it's like we can do things in an excellent way, and when we do things excellent, it is very excellent. So I felt like that was a bit more realistic and grounded in fact than the magic. But I was annoyed by it, but hearing you say it now, it doesn't sound so bad. But I just didn't want to adopt it. I didn't join in so much.
You know what? I'm gonna have to stand with you on that one. Black girl magic. It dehumanizes. You know, for me, if I think magic, I think fairy tales and unicorns and glitter, and we're not those things. We are very much blood, sweat, and tears people, and we do give blood, sweat, and tears on our search for excellence. So I think I'm going to definitely adopt the black excellence hashtag instead of black girl magic.
I think, yeah, I mean, I do understand, and I'm sure people are like, no, I love Black Girl Magic. Yeah, and I get it, because we do, and that's the thing, we are magical. We are we are super spiritual beings, because we can handle some stuff, and we do it with our makeup laid, our hair laid, our clothes together, our nails together, our feet together, everything's on point, and then we're still managing to run the office, run our homes, manage our men, manage racism, sexism, oppression, all that type of stuff. And we do it with a smile stamped on our face. So there is some sort of magic going on. Maybe black girl spirituality, but that takes it on another tangent. But so I get it. And I don't want to, anyone who's been empowered by that phrase, I get it. But I just prefer black excellence because
it makes it more real.
Yeah, it makes it more real.
I think for me, it's not that I'm trying to take away from what it stands for, because I understand what it stands for. But the fact is, when you notice when people use it, and it's always used when a black woman has done something exceptional, and then everybody, not just the black woman, everybody's on the bandwagon of, yes, it's black girl magic. And I'm like, well, you're kind of robbing her of the work that she's done to attribute it to magic. And I get the fact that, yes, we as black women do exceptional things. And there's some women who I'm looking at and I'm really honored and proud and just basically in awe of. But to attribute it to magic, in my eyes, cheapens it a bit.
A little bit. And again, it's... Yeah, I never really got behind. I feel bad for everyone that loved it, because there's a whole movement behind it. There's a whole reason. It's very understandable. It's protective armor. It really is a protective, pretty, glittery shield. And I like it for being an exclusive club. You don't have that. You can't really say white girl magic doesn't have the same ring. Black girl magic is serious. I just prefer black excellence because, as we said, facts.
So please, Black Twitter, don't come for me. It's just an opinion. Don't come for us here. We're just talking about the different ways we can attribute to it, because, opinions matter.
Yes.
So, looking at your time, if you have one advice to give a young woman coming up who wants to follow in your path, what advice will that be?
Launch a platform.
Launch a platform, start a movement, celebrate black artistry for what it is.
I'll just do it. There's there really isn't a formula. That'd be unfair to not unfair, but I feel like it's weird. I couldn't say do it like this because I haven't got the blueprint. I just did it and then let the chips fall. And I've made many mistakes. There may be some things I could have done differently, but if I didn't do those things wrong, then I wouldn't have known, and I might have done them wrong at a time it was more crucial. So I think if you have my general thing, if you have an idea about something, do it, and just do it. It sounds really cliche, but I think you just have to get it off your chest, because I had this in me and it just came out. I couldn't hold it back. I didn't run from it. I just did it, and I didn't know what was to expect. It was just literally an idea in my head, and it became real. And dealing with the consequences. But you have to do it. If you've got an idea, just get on with it. And it's quite easy to get on with it. I would say be informed of the field. Be informed in where you're going in, because I think I had my journalism degree and I had a bit of understanding of the arts. I wish, maybe not, and it's not a regret, I wish I had done a business management course or maybe a business course and stuff like that. I had a bit more understanding, because I don't understand business. I'm not the greatest at business and understanding the hard sell and the art of, knowing your worth when it comes to finances and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of stuff you can do if you've got the time or the funds or the space to do that. Then train up on be educated and be informed in the area that you want to go into. But other than that, don't let that hold you back either. Just do it and know how to delegate and know how to work with people, because you can't do it on your own. And if you don't be too internal. You've got to just say, hey, need a hand here, and speak out and speak everything to existence.
Okay. And here's the one question that I ask everybody is, how do you bounce back from failure?
Have I failed yet? I don't know if I've failed. I've done things wrong, but failed seems like so final, and I don't think I've failed. So bouncing back from hardship is like letting yourself cry, get upset, and then getting on with it. Again, it's like, I think being honest with what you feel like you've done wrong, and I think this applies to life in general, then it can apply to business. Anything you feel like you've done wrong and didn't do right, sit with it, be honest with it, have a conversation with yourself about it and how, the whys, the hows, the whos. And if it's someone that you need to speak to about it, then let them know. If you need to hear it from them that actually it was you, the person, that did something wrong, be open to receiving it and then deal with it. Be honest. I think it's being honest and then keep it moving, because you can't just sit there and rot in your mistake, because that's a mistake in itself. That's more of a failure than bouncing back. So I'd like to say I haven't failed at anything. I've made mistakes and I've learned from them, and learning from them that's why I'm here, because I've learned from them. You just keep it moving, but you give yourself time to grieve things, I think, because there's times when I've had burnout from doing this, trying to do too much and things not going my way, and I'm just on autopilot. So you have to be very aware of yourself and know that, you know what, this isn't right, I need to stop. And just be aware, very self-aware and protective of yourself, and let yourself have a mad day or a mad week. Don't try not to let it run more than a week. No, don't feel sorry for yourself for too long, and then just get over it in the best way you know how, which could be friends, therapy, or time away, massage, gym, anything like that. But just make sure you deal with it. Don't hide away from it. Don't run away from it.
And that's very important. And our final-ish question along this line is, what are your current self-care practices? How do you take care of you?
I'm really bad at sleeping. I don't know where that came from. I remember a time when I used to sleep, and it's been a very long time. My sleep pattern's awful. And I think hitting the age that I'm hitting, I hit the landmark 40 2 years ago now. So, and it goes really quickly. Like, I can still remember high school, which is scary. So I think when you're young, you think that when you hit those ages, everything just turns bleak and black and white. But it's really weird. One, looking young, one, remembering a time when you're young, but actually your body's like, no, you're not young. And these things, it really does happen. Like, my knees are going. I'm having conversations with my friends that my mum has with her friends. Like, I went to the doctors and I had this and that. It's ridiculous. And so my new regime is to try and get to bed by 11, see if I can do that, force myself to put everything down, turn off my laptop, turn off my phone, or have them away from me, and just sleep. And if it's just stay still, trying to do some more yoga and allow myself to switch off the laptop. Because one thing, working from home and working on for yourself, especially with an online platform, it's so easy to keep working because our laptops and our phones become an extension of us. So I have to force myself to shut down, give myself time. I've set a whole daily schedule where I've divided up my day into tasks. Mm-hmm. Okay. My alarm goes at 11 to say bedtime. My alarm goes at the end of the day at 6 to say stop working. So that I can just remind myself that, and even I have a lunchtime thing because you can just work through. So yeah, I'm trying to be more mindful of not overworking and sleeping, and I'm trying to do more yoga and exercise because I need to live up to my young-looking face.
All right, so sleep, taking care of your body, and taking the time to shut down, to have a routine, and also make space for you.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds about fair. And sounds about right. And I think that's one of the things most people struggle with is trying to make that time, especially like you said, when they run a business from home, they're always busy, being busy within the business. And so that can be a challenge.
Yeah, definitely. It's very hard to switch off when you run your own business. Like I said, if it's online as well, that makes it even harder because it's so easy. Sometimes I could just be literally innocently either WhatsApping my friend. They might say, "Oh my God, did you see this?" And I'm like, "Oh shoot, got to do an article about it quick." Then I'm logged off to do that. Or I could be watching something and then I'm like, "Oh my God, I've got an opinion on this." So it's very easy when you're a journalist and you've got an online platform to just caught up in the whole rigmarole. And then just generally, the whole social media evolution is a lot. I like being really into Facebook groups and debating all day long. And there's times when I know there's hours I've lost when I could have been productive, when I've just been thinking about some nonsense issue, whether it's black men versus black women or Dr. Umar or some nonsense, and we're just, Hoteps versus all this and times like I can get deep, and I've spent at least a good couple of months worth of faffing about on Facebook. So there's just managing that and just to down tools and say stop already. It's enough.
Oh no, I listen. That's the one thing I don't do is get involved in any Hotep conversation because you can lose days trying to reason with the Hotep, and then you realize there's no reason.
Yeah, I'm part Hotep, part conscious, part rebel, part ratchet, as they say. I'm a everything. I fit in a lot of camps, so I could be quite Hotepery in my life, and then I can be quite anti-Hotep, and then I can be quite ratchet, and I can be, oh gosh, can you all stop being so rowdy and raggo and stuff like that. So I like who I am, but it does get me caught up in loads of arguments. I've matured. I've stopped in the past 2 years, especially now. I took redundancy from my day job last year, so then really having to run a business keeps you offline and keeps you focused. You ain't got time for that. You got to make money.
Oh boy. Okay, so the big thing is for 2018, no online arguments on Facebook. That will take your time.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, Akua, I'm so glad to have you on the show, and we could sit and talk for a good few hours more, but since I know that you have a specific time to wind down, I'm going to say it's been really awesome getting on the show, and so thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
You're welcome. And just in case anybody does not know the British Blacklist, where can they find it?
Okay, so you can get us on www.britishblacklist.co.uk. That's the website. Our Twitter is @BritBlacklist. Our Facebook and Instagram is the British Blacklist. The British Blacklist. Sorry, I was about to give the website again. So Instagram and Facebook is the British Blacklist. And if you have anything with arts related to talk about, or if you want to be a British Blacklist writer, then just send an email to info@thebritishblacklist.com. And that's it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Now, everyone, if you have any other questions for Akua and you haven't sent them in, send them in at our Facebook page, Twitter, Instagram, and we'll pass them along. But you can reach out to the woman herself and ask your questions directly. And as you know, you can always stop by our pages and ask any questions, and we'll come back and share with you. So this has been another show, and I am so glad to have had this really amazing woman on the show. Catch the replay if you've missed the show, and we'll see you again same time next week.
Bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Shine Out Loud Show. If you want to connect with us or let us know what you thought of today's show, be sure to follow us on Twitter @Shine Out Show.